Hello, welcome back. So what we are doing here is I am showing you exactly how I put this 25-ounce Hydrosport on my turner and how I keep it on there and how I keep it pretty level and pretty secure. So this pool noodle I got at the Dollar Tree, and they are a lot smaller than the ones that you're going to get at Walmart. So if you have a Dollar Tree next to you, I would go and grab some of these really small pool noodles, and they work beautifully for all of these Hydrosport openings. They work great. So I put some electrical tape around the bottom of the pipe there and stuck it in the inside, and what that does is give it some weight and keeps it to where I can pull it out in the end. I'm just rubbing this down with some alcohol, just spray it on there, wipe it down with a coffee filter just to clean off any dirt, debris, fingerprints, that kind of thing. So I got this amazing vinyl on 95vinyl.com, and it has just this beautiful Aztec-y, feathery bohemian look about these flamingos, and I just fell in love with it. I had to have it. And when I got this in, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but Becky at the Glitter Ranch introduced flamingos, and I was like, oh my gosh, flamingos, we have to use it for this. And so this is where I came up with that idea, was when she got those flamingos. So I realized that I was not going to be able to show y'all exactly how I was going to do this from that angle, so I just got up, moved the camera around so that we can do the proper angle so I could show you how I wrap this. Now, I've done plenty of wraps on this channel, so I hope that what I'm doing makes sense. It's the same type of situation that I've done many times before. I'm just going to try to get it as straight as possible in the very beginning. Now, on this one, we are going to take the top and the bottom, and we're going to paint it and put glitter, so it's not 100%. Doesn't have to be 100%, but this top part right here, I just kind of left a little bit of a space there because I'm going to be taping that off, because that's where the lid goes. So I don't want any paint or epoxy or glitter to be getting up there, so I just left a little bit of space at the top. And as you can see, I just pushed it all the way around, leaving the backing on the back of that vinyl and just pulling it off as I moved it around. I just trimmed off the excess there, and I end up just slicing off a little bit there. I actually sliced off a little bit too much, so be careful when you are slicing that. I've actually used tape before, and I would suggest doing that. This moment I didn't do it, and I wish I would have, but I ended up putting a stripe on there, and then the glitter on the top was going to cover that, so I was able to get away with it. But it's just in case, just make sure you're watching where you cut it. So I trimmed a little bit off of the top there just to get it as straight as possible. It was a little bit askewed. I knew I was going to be putting glitter there, but I just wanted to make sure that it was kind of as straight as we could get it. And on the bottom there, I just sliced off that bottom part because I did not want to wrap it. I knew I was going to be putting glitter on the bottom and cascading it up, kind of up the cup a little bit. So we were going to be painting this, and I didn't need to cover that vinyl, so I just sliced it off that bottom part there. Then I checked for any bubbles that were around the tumbler, just popped them with my little X-Acto knife there. There wasn't very many, but every once in a while you're going to get some. It's going to happen when you do these full vinyl wraps. So here I'm going to tape off that top part right there. I'm going to tape off where the actual top part screws on. I'm just going to use electrical tape because it's the easiest to form around the top there, and it gives you a really nice straight line. If you don't have electrical tape, you can use painter's tape. It's not a problem. It's just a lot easier to use this. So if you can get your hands on it, I would definitely suggest doing that. I'm going to start off by showing you the glitter. This is the Flamingos. This is Pretty in Pink Chunky Holographic. And the Flamingos here are the same exact color and holographicness, so they're going to work out perfectly together. So I'm using this bright pink from Christy Taylor's Pantheon paints, and I'm going to be using that for the bottom portion of the tumbler and for the top portion of the tumbler. We're going to be painting this on. We're going to probably do about 3 coats of this, and then we will go into epoxy and putting the glitter on there. Here I'm going in with a teeny tiny bit of epoxy, and I'm putting it all over because I'm going to be doing the top rim and the bottom rim. So I am getting into the little crevice there at the top and, you know, the bottom, but I'm not doing too much. I'm going to try to keep it as minimal as possible. So I'm going to start off with putting unicorn, which I decided at the last minute to do this. I didn't at the time have Pretty in Pink in a fine, so I decided to go with unicorn, and I figured it would show through the pink and give me a nice little contrast. So here I opened up the spout on this glitter jar, and I used the spout because I didn't want to open up the jar and risk all of them kind of flying down the cup. So I was trying to be very careful here and tap them on and get them just to go in that one little area. I didn't want them to go too far down the cup, so I just kind of slowly let them slide out. And then I took a glove here and just, you know, kind of played with it a little bit, kind of spread them out, turned them, you know, situated them right, because you're going to have all kinds of flamingos that are upside down and sideways and sticking up. So you're going to want to put a glove on, and you're going to want to kind of play with them for a little bit. And I did kind of pick some of them up off of the parchment paper and put them on the cup, just kind of strategically down down going up towards the top, I guess you could say. I would probably say I played with this for a few minutes, just making sure that I got all the pieces in order. And after I get all of the flamingos on there, I opened up the smaller side of the Pretty in Pink Chunky, and I used that side to kind of fill in around those flamingos. Now, the reason that I was doing that is I didn't want a bunch of chunky to come out. I just wanted to be able to control the amount of glitter that was coming out. So I continued on the top with the smaller side. It was a little bit more difficult, but I was just trying to fill those particular areas, and I didn't want too much of that chunky to spill out. I continued to fill in the white area in between the paint and the vinyl there. I just continued to kind of use that smaller spout and fill in where I could. In hindsight, I wish I would have had the finer cut of the Pretty in Pink. It would have been a little bit easier to fill in just that bottom portion and get a fuller, completed look there. Removing the tape is vital. Anytime you're in any step in this process, you want to make sure you're removing that tape, and you want to make sure you're replacing the tape and putting it back on before you epoxy it, and then also removing that tape about 45 minutes into epoxying the tumbler. So before I set this to dry, I took a piece of parchment paper and I just patted down as much as I could to make sure that there wasn't that much of the chunky or the flamingos or anything else sticking up, and that will cause problems later on when we go to epoxy and sand everything down. And once again, I'm replacing that tape, and each time I replace this tape, I'm going to move it just ever so slightly above the last line so that we keep getting coverage over each layer of epoxy or paint or whatever you're doing. So I just kind of move it up just ever so slightly every time. So after those 2 coats of epoxy, I am filing this down, taking any kind of little chunks of the glitter or the little flamingos. A couple of them were kind of, the legs kind of got bent and were sticking out. So I had to file those down. And this file is really awesome for those types of situations. And after that, I wipe it down with alcohol. I don't wash this too much during the process because I don't want any water getting inside of there. So I just use the alcohol. Now I'm using this chrome vinyl that I've used a lot of times in a lot of different applications. I absolutely love it because it's not so black and it gives just that shimmer and shine. I really love it. I'll have it linked down below. It's one of my favorites. I actually just bought a brand new roll of it because I use it so much. But as you can see there, it has like a protective film on there. Make sure you remove that before you stick it in your cutter because it will cut and it will just be a mess. Trust me on this. I've done it. Make sure you remove that before you get started. So for the design that I made in Cricut, I was measuring just to make sure that I had the right kind of measurements to go all the way around and for the amount of space that I wanted to use for this particular tumbler and the amount of glitter and everything that I had applied there. This design I created in Cricut Design Space. Now I'm going to create its very own tutorial and I'm going to link it in my group on my Facebook, and that it will be available for anybody that wants to join. It will be free, but I didn't want this video to go like, you know, an hour long, so I made that a separate video, and that way all you got to do is go join my Facebook and it will be available as soon as this video is over, maybe like a day or two. I've got to get it done. After I get this uploaded, I'll get that one uploaded. But it's really cool design. I wanted to actually teach you how I did it. I didn't want to just put it up as available for you to just download it. I thought it would be kind of cool to teach you how I created this. So if you had something in your mind or some kind of design that you might want to personalize and create something very unique for your you know, tumblers or your whatever you're working on, I just thought it'd be kind of cool to teach you how to do it. So I made sure that this was cleaned down with alcohol before I started this. Make sure your cup or tumbler or whatever you're working on is super straight and you're kind of right over it so you can get this lined up just right. I decided I was going to put this on the tumbler and then I was going to add these lines, and I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do with the lines, but it comes clearer once I put it on the tumbler. I was like, okay, now this makes sense. I know what I was thinking. I know what I want to do. And basically it all came together. But this was definitely just something that I had in my mind that I wanted to add. There's actually kind of the same kind of design in the feathers on the actual vinyl. So I kind of took inspiration from that. And I just love the way it turned out. Now I did have one little piece here that really got away from me when I was applying it. I think it got a little turned around in underneath the transfer tape there. So what I did was I very carefully, you know, I just very carefully pulled it up and peeled it. I actually kind of had to cut it at one point and pull it and you know, line it up exactly the way that the diamond was before. So anyways, these things happen, especially these lines turned out really, really thin, which was beautiful for the effect that I wanted, but it wasn't necessarily good for transferring them on and that kind of thing. This was a little mishap that we had, but it was no big deal. I got it fixed. You just need to take your time. Don't be upset. Don't start freaking out. You can get it fixed. You just have to go slow and peel it up. And if you have to cut it and pull it, it's okay. It happens to the best of us. So here's where I decided to put the lines. So at first I knew I was going to put one line in the back side where we sliced the vinyl, just to cover that up and kind of create a definite line and make it part of the design. And so I began there, and I knew I was going to be putting a line there. And I didn't want the line to go all the way up and down because of the way that the tumbler is designed. So I picked the spot. I was trying to figure out where I wanted it, and I decided I'm going to pick the spot where the diamonds, the points are. Because at that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to take these lines and put them all the way around at the top of these points. So I just started on the back side there. I started right at the bottom of that piece of vinyl, and I made sure that I met each and every point, going all the way around and keeping it as straight and, you know, perfect going all the way around as I possibly could there. And ending on the other side, I just trimmed up that piece and moved on to the top side. Once I got the line on the top, I decided that with one of those last lines, I was trying to think of exactly how I could do it. And it came to me, just put it down, going down the middle. There was a perfect symmetrical line, you know, already kind of there. So it made sense. I just followed that all the way around as straight as I could, and then clipped it off on the back there. And after that, I had a couple more lines left, and so I decided I'm going to add another line right here. It kind of made sense. There was a little break in the diamonds there, and so putting a line on the top and putting a line on the bottom of that middle line, it just made sense, and I really love the way that this comes out in the end. So taking Mod Podge, I put Mod Podge on my sticker on the bottom, and then I take it up onto the sides of the cups and put it all over that metallic, you know, chrome looking vinyl. You definitely want to seal this in, or you're going to end up with a lot of bubbles in the end. And once again, you do not want to forget to tape off your top part there. You're going to be doing this the whole time. Every layer of epoxy, you're going to want to be putting this tape all the way around, and you're going to want to bring it up each time a tiny, tiny bit to allow for some of that stainless steel to be exposed. And every time you're going to want to take this off about 45 minutes into your epoxying. Do not forget, set a timer. Ask Alexa to remind you. Whatever you got to do, make sure you do not forget to take that tape off of there, or you will have a big problem on your hands in the end. And this took two final coats, and it was ready to ship off to its new owner, which I was so excited to do. This just screams bohemian to me. It reads just summertime, and I just love the way that this came out. I absolutely love the vinyl. I love the images on the vinyl. I love the flamingos. I love the glitter. The glitter was so sparkly and so beautiful. You just got to see it in person. Join my group so you can get the other tutorial, and I will see you next time.